One of the stock plots of science fiction was the invention of a robot, usually pictured as a creature of metal without soul or emotion. Under the influence of the well-known deeds and ultimate fate of Frankenstein and Rossum, there seemed only one change to be rung on this plot. Robots were created and destroyed their creator, robots were created and destroyed their creator, and robots were created and destroyed their creator. In the 1930s, I became a science fiction reader, and I quickly grew tired of this dull, 100 times told tale. As a person interested in science, I resented the purely Faustian interpretation of science. I think is all I'm going to be able to say in this recap, apparently. Alright, let's buckle down and think about this. Come on, Megan. Let's start with the simple things. Did I like it? Actually, that's not simple at all. Let's circle back to that. I thought it was original. We'd certainly never seen an X-Files episode like this before, and I thought it was really cool that it was daring and tried something different. And I like the lack of dialogue, because I think Mulder and Scully do that silent communication thing really well. And the cinematography was inspired, and the direction was really good. And the episode itself was just goddamn weird. And I like weird. I am notorious for liking weird and wacky things. So it wasn't that bothered me about this episode. The subject matter does not match the episode's weirdness. And in order to explain what I mean, go back and watch the beginning of this video again, where I'm reading a quote. And for those of you who don't know, that's a quote by Isaac Asimov, a very famous science fiction writer who created these laws of robotics. And the laws of robotics are kind of outdated as far as actual robots go, but they have inspired a lot of science fiction, and basically they go like this. And I'm literally just doing this off the top of my head, so I'm not going to quote them exactly. Don't do angry little comments down in the comment section if I don't get the wording exactly right. But from what I remember, these are the 3 laws of robotics. 1, a robot is not allowed to harm a human, or by doing nothing or by inaction allowed to cause a human to come to harm. 2, a robot has to obey any orders given to it by a human, except in where that would conflict with the first law. And 3, what is number 3? Oh, a robot has to preserve itself unless that conflicts with the first and second law. And then there's also the 0th law or something, where a robot can't harm humanity or allow humanity to come to harm through inaction. But so those are the laws of robotics. And the only reason I bring this up is because Asimov had this very his philosophy when it came to writing about robots was that, well, for one thing, he was sick and tired of the old the robots destroy their creator narrative. He'd seen it over and over and over again. This was back in the 1930s. Like, how many stories where robots destroy their creator have been written since then, both in movies and books and TV shows? I mean, we've seen it everywhere. We see it all the time. But even more than that, he believed that by using these laws as a literary device, because that's really what they are, they're more of a literary device than an actual thing that can be really implemented, that he would be able to tell more interesting stories, and ones that would shed more light on the implications of humans creating something like a robot which possesses artificial intelligence, or has any of its own agency in any way. Why do I bring this up? Because this episode doesn't do that. And while it is creative in terms of the way the story is told, which I like I said, I like that weird, wacky stuff, the story itself is rather basic as far as science fiction goes. And I realize that the X-Files is not really a purely science fiction show, but if if you're gonna do science fiction, and this is very much that, you need to do it like well, I feel. I mean, the X-Files, the X-Files is not an amateur show. The show has been, like, this is its 11th season. It's been a thing for over 25 years. This is not the X-Files first ball game. Like, and I was kind of disappointed by that. Because the kind of vibe I got from this episode was the same sort of vibe I get from elderly customers at the place I work at not being able to get the coupon on their phone for whatever reason, and them being like, oh, back in the day we just had coupons in the paper and we cut them out and you scanned them or whatever. And yeah, that's all fine and good, but what they don't realize is that the majority of people are able to get the coupons on their phones, and the majority of people, and for the majority of people, the coupons do actually work, and their phones do actually work. And the reason why a lot of people can't get the coupons on their phones is because they don't know how to use the phone. It's not because the phone itself is faulty. So I get very irritated when people, I'd say like 40, 50 years older than me, are like, technology is taking over humanity. It's not, okay? Technology is there to aid humanity. And I get the whole thing, like, we need to spend less time on our phones and more time talking to each other. I get it. But that's also been done. Like, that's been done in that freaking commercial. What was that commercial where everybody's walking around with their phone and they miss all these important things in their life? I don't know. But, like, I feel like there was just so many other directions they could have taken this, and while still keeping the really interesting style and look and feel of the episode. Maybe those robots that were chasing them were trying to help them out, or maybe you know, the robots had formed a secret robot society. I don't know. I mean, I'm just coming up with ideas off the top of my head, but you get what there's more to technology than technology is bad. And also, like, technology is usually not that consistently faulty. Also, is that what it's like to live in DC? Because if so, this is the first I'm hearing of it. I certainly don't get drones delivering me packages. And I know there's autonomous vehicles, but they're only being tested right now, and they have to have a human in the car with them. I don't think there are any autonomous cars in the United States right now that are being solely operated by the car without a supervisor inside of it. I don't think that's a thing yet. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I am pretty certain that those don't exist. And I am very certain that I have never seen, and I live in the 4th biggest city in the United States, I have never seen somebody's package being delivered by a drone. So I'm not exactly sure what, like, timeline this was supposed to be set in, because to me it almost looked like maybe 10, 15, even 20 years into the future. It just, not to mention that all that stuff would be incredibly expensive. I mean, did you see Scully's house? I mean, girl must be making some big bucks, because I would never be able to afford any of that stuff, and most people I know wouldn't be able to. And on that note, I think most people wouldn't be able to afford, like, package delivering drones, unless Amazon just replaces the postal system with that. I don't know. Like, there's just a lot of things, kind of like Kitten, the previous episode, that are logical flaws, and those logical flaws kind of prevented me from fully immersing myself in the episode, because they're just distracting. However, that being said, things I did like. I think David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson did a really good job in this episode. The beginning part where they're in the weird-ass sushi place, where Scully starts laughing when Mulder gets his blobfish, that was super cute. And that might be the first time Scully's laughed/smiled all season. My heart did a flutter when I saw short-haired Scully again. I know everybody likes the long wig, and, you know, I want to believe Scully, but I am a short-haired Scully girl. I'm all about that season 6, season 7 look. Let's see what else. So they're not living together, even though they referred to Mulder's house as their house several times. But I've harped so much on that continuity crap as far as their relationship goes that I'm just not even gonna bother. Twitter's done it for me anyway. Let's see what else. The end scene was really sweet. You know, I do have to say, one thing that has been comforting this season is it has reminded me that the X-Files, despite its many flaws, generally does endings well. I've said that several times on my blog for many episodes. It does endings really well. The X-Files has endings that really pack a punch. Not always in a negative way, like in My Struggle 3. Like, I'm talking like endings that make you think, make you feel, make you go, oh, make you go, you know what I mean? Like, this, it does endings really well. Let's say, I feel like I'm gonna have to give this episode several more watches in order to fully come up with a list of things that I think about it. However, I do have to say that of all the episodes that have aired this season, maybe with the exception of Darren Morgan's, this is the one I most want to watch again. And I think that's in large part due to the, well, since there is little dialogue, you have to pay attention to the action more. But also, I just think it's visually really cool. And kudos to the writers, who I believe were women. Yay, women can do film stuff too, guys. It's kudos to the writers for coming up with something that is actually, like, original and, you know, kind of unlike anything we've ever seen on the X-Files, and probably ever on, well, not ever on TV, you know what I mean, there's so much TV, but there's not a lot of stuff like this on TV nowadays. One more thing we have to address, because this has also been blowing up the Twitter, and I think this was probably thrown in as like a fan fiction nod, sort of like the whole Bob thing, but Scully has a vibrator. What? I don't know, just seeing it was kind of awkward for me and for Mulder, I think. I mean, I'm not against Scully having a vibrator. It was just kind of weird to sort of like see it on screen, and also, like, why would they be tracking her through her vibrator? That's A, weird, and B, like, they can do it through her vibrator but not her flashlight. I said this on Twitter, but apparently there has been some company that has actually been tracking, like, vibrator usage, so I rest my case, real world. Thanks for making that a thing that proves me wrong. Really gross. Ugh. In any case, yeah. You do you, Scully. You do you. I don't know. I think that if this episode had not been about evil robots going haywire. I was gonna say amok, and then I think my brain was saying haywire and it came out as A-wire. You know how that happens sometimes? I don't know. Anyway, if this episode wasn't about the same old robots going berserk or whatever, I would have liked it a lot better. It might have been my favorite episode of the season, but that really is a giant flaw for me. The fact that it really didn't take many risks as far as the story goes. As far as the artistic stuff, the direction and the way the story was told goes, it took a lot of risks, and I'm glad that it did. I just wish that had been paired with a better story. So all in all, not a disaster, not anything spectacular, but I certainly enjoyed myself, and I'll definitely give this one another watch. But you know what this means, guys? We just finished episode 7, which means we are down to the final 3. This is the final... Yes, final 3. This is the final stretch, and we'll just have to take what we're getting in the next 3, and the more I think about it, the sadder I get. So I'm gonna go, but I'll see you guys next time.